Okay, the next project is the walking animation project, and the first thing you probably noticed for this project is there's this picture here of eight different costumes you'd have for a walking scene. And there's actually 9 on here. The first and last one are repeated, but 8 is a pretty good number if you want to have a smooth animation. If you take a look at more costumes makes a smoother animation. If you take a look at this link, I created an animation of the Scratch Cat with multiple different costumes. With just 2 costumes, he doesn't look like he's really walking. It's not very smooth. 4 costumes looks a lot better. That looks somewhat realistic. You can tell that he's walking. 8 looks pretty good, and 16 looks even better. So we're going to do at least 4 costumes for our project so that it looks somewhat realistic. So we're going to go back to here, and if you want to start with your own or with the Red Man costumes that I've created here, you can download these by clicking on this. It's going to bring up the image right here. It looks pixely, but it's actually a vector image. So once you download it, once you click on download here, it's going to download the full image. It says this type of file can harm your computer. I want to keep it. I know that it's good because I created it myself. So let's see. I'm just going to download all 4 of these quick because I don't have them on this computer. I'll keep it. Yep. So I've got Redman 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so now that I've got all of those downloaded, in Inkscape we want to create a unique character with at least 4 different costumes for a walk cycle. If you want to start with these files, you can, but you have to personalize them. So everyone should not have a red man. You should put in your own characteristics into the person. Change the color so he's not red man anymore. Maybe put a face on there. Put clothing on him, something like that. Then and you should be doing that in Inkscape. So next you want to create a new Scratch file. And once we're in Scratch, make sure we're logged in, which I am. Create a new file. And now I'm going to create a new sprite by uploading. And these are going to be in my downloads folder since I just downloaded them. And it's Redman 1 is the first one I want to upload. And I want only click on one at a time when I'm uploading a new sprite. But if I'm adding costumes, I can actually add more than one at a time. So I'm going to add 2, 3, and 4 all together when I'm adding costumes, and that's okay. So the next thing I want to do is make sure that these are in order. So I want to have Redman 1, 2, 3, then 4. If they weren't in order, I could just click on one and drag it. So now 2 is at the bottom, and I want to make sure I drag it back up so that as I look at these, they're in order. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And next, let's get rid of the Scratch Cat. So once I created the new Scratch file, uploaded my new sprite for the first costume, uploaded the remaining costumes, now I'm going to use switch costume, wait, and repeat to create the animation of the person walking. So this should be pretty easy. We did this last time, but this time, since we're using all 4 of the costumes, instead of using switch to partially open and switch to all the way open, telling specifically what costumes to use, I'm actually going to use switch to the next costume, and it's just going to repeat through all of the available costumes. And now I want to use wait. I think 0.2 seconds is probably pretty good for this. And then why don't we use the repeat forever and see how this looks when we click on it. So now he's walking in place. He looks like a pretty natural pace. If I wanted him to move faster, I could move this time down. I could move that down to 0.1, and he's moving a lot faster. If I want him to move slower, I could move it down to something like 0.5, and I think that's too slow. So I'm going to leave it at 0.2 like I had it originally. I think that's a pretty good speed. Let's see what's next. Make your sprite actually walk across the stage using the animation. So those blocks that we used before, switch, wait, and repeat, and the move block. So if I want to make this guy move across the screen, go back to the motion and let's see, here we go. Move 10 steps, it's the top one. So I want to switch to the next costume, move 10 steps, and then wait. So let's stick that right in the middle there. And now he's walking across the screen. So make your sprite walk across the stage. And the stage, that's one thing that I didn't address yet. The stage is what we call the screen, this little screen, which is where your animations and everything actually exist in. And the stage is what that whole thing is called. And just like sprites have different costumes, stages have different backdrops. So if I click on the backdrop, I can create a new backdrop with all of the different ways that we can create new sprites and new costumes. I'm going to upload, or use a costume from the library. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the very last backdrop. And backdrops is what the costumes for the stage is called. And I'm going to use the XY grid. And I'm going to put that in as my backdrop. And if we take a look at this, we've talked about this just a little bit, but the stage has an XY grid on it, and when you tell something to move somewhere, 0, 0 is right in the middle. This is an XY grid, just like in math class, just like in geometry or whatever class you've used these in. And so if I tell something to go to 100, 100, that would be first I move X over 100 to the right and Y over up 100. So 100, 100 would be right here. If I'm going negative 100 for the X, that would be to the left, and negative 100 on the Y would be down. So this is a good backdrop to show you exactly where things are going to move. And if I want to use the motion, go to a specific XY coordinate, if I go to 100, 100, that's going to send my sprite right to this coordinate 100, 100. So this is a good backdrop to show you exactly where things are going if you're using the XY coordinates. Higher level work, go beyond what was taught. Make your sprite walk to one stage, then turn around and walk back. Make it walk towards the cursor. Add additional characters that tell a story. Try and add something from this category and make sure you know what the stage is, which is the screen that your animations occur on, and the backdrop is just different costumes for your stage.